3 o'clock came around and we're sitting over there at the table, and I look out the window and I see that the sheriff is pulling up and the social worker's in the car with him. I didn't know what was going on at that point until they came into the house and just set down 2 pieces of paper on the table, and they were pages 4 and 5, and we were missing 1, 2, and 3. And all it said was they didn't know where the whereabouts of the child were, and the whole time he was with his parents and his grandma.
This was your home that the sheriff and these social workers, county workers entered, right?
Yeah.
Well, what happened? How did they enter your home?
Well, they came in under the disguise that they were just going to watch Lindsay and John give the medication to the baby.
Okay.
So that was the premise that was set up. It was a 3 o'clock appointment. So they walk in, the sheriff walks in with them, and immediately gives our lawyer pages, like Lindsay said, pages 4 and 5 of a 5-page document. The meat is on page 1, 2, and 3, what the judge signed off on. Our lawyer, luckily was here. He said, well, where's pages 1, 2, and 3? Well, we don't know. We don't have them.
He kept asking, where's the petition?
And he kept asking.
Where's the petition?
The sheriff said, we're taking the baby. Since we didn't have page 1, 2, and 3, we didn't even know what the conditions were that they could take the baby.
Real quick, did they watch you administer the medication at that time?
Yes.
They watched, but they didn't watch. They stood over here with their heads turned, and John and I are bawling our eyes out over here, giving him his medication, and he's having, an episode from getting them, watching him get his meds is one thing, but then to know that he's going to be taken away from you at the same time, it was the worst day of my life.
And in the meantime, Lindsay and John were giving Rico his meds. He was being cared for. We loved this little baby. We weren't doing anything wrong.
They came into your home. They gave this 2-page document out of 5. And what happened?
If it says that the whereabouts are unknown, I think the child's been here as far as I understand.
It's neither here nor there. Basically, what we have is a court order, though, saying that for now the child's going to be placed in protective custody.
And I've been documenting everything, so that's all going to be available.
And I know it's hard, but I mean...
It's not hard, it's stupid.
Just talk to the judge
Well, what
about
are you
it.
going to do for 72 hours when I'm breastfeeding him?
Well, yeah, I understand that. They might have to get, pump it, and then they're going to get formula or whatever else.
Where will the child be kept?
I'm
We
not
don't
going to
have that.
disclose
Well,
the
we-
foster home,
right.
but it'll be a licensed foster home.
It'd be a what kind of
license?
Well, yeah, I understand that. They might have to get, pump it, and then they're going to get formula or whatever else.
Where will the child be kept?
I'm
We
not
don't
going to
have that.
disclose
Well,
the
we-
foster home,
right.
but it'll be a licensed foster home.
It'd be a what kind of
license? And I've been documenting everything.
But they just said we're taking the baby, and you
Pack up some clothes and...
They didn't care if he got the meds or not. In fact, that was kind of an inconvenience for them. They just wanted to take the baby and get out of here. Lindsay said, well, he has to have a special bottle. Do you want the bottle? No, we don't want the bottle. And she says, well, the baby is breastfed. There's no other way to feed this baby. They said, we'll take care of it, and they walked out the door with the baby.
And they didn't have a car seat either, and I asked him if they needed that. He said, nope, just like that. And I watched them take the baby away. And then our neighbors were out walking, and they saw Rico being carried out.
You watched your baby just be taken and taken out your front door by a member of the county sheriff's office. Am I correct?
Yes.
Who was that? Who was the enforcing officer there?
Mark May.
He's a chief deputy.
He had no problem
second in command.
taking him. He would just, it was almost like he was just delighted to take him. He probably was skipping on the way out. I don't know. That's how happy he was.
It was very surreal.
Yeah.
Everything about it was surreal. It was
Every single one of us was just, it was like, we didn't even know what to say. It was just, we were in shock.
And they take the baby because we can't produce the baby within 30 minutes to show the county that we're giving the baby the meds, and we don't even know that we're being watched or being investigated. And we still, to this day, don't know what we're charged for.
They just took him away, and we asked, well, where is he going? And they didn't tell us anything. And so for 5 days, we didn't find out till our first court hearing that he was in the hospital again. And he had been there since the day that they took him. 5.
For 5 days, you didn't know where he was.
And since they had no way of feeding this baby,
He had to go to the hospital.
he had to go right back into the emergency room and then had to be put back onto tube feeding through the nose again.
At the time he was taken, you were breastfeeding. Well, how was he doing?
He was doing good. He was gaining weight and breastfeeding and being a baby, like just the normal stuff that you do when you have a newborn.
And how long total was he? How many days was he taken from you? For how many days?
50 days.
For 50 days. So for the first 5 days, you had no idea where he was. Then they allowed you to know where he was. Did you have contact with him at that point?
No say in what happened to him in the hospital. We could only just visit. I thought you could just go wherever you wanted to and be free to have second opinions and make choices for your family. But I guess that's not how this country is ran anymore.
The time that he was taken, did he have this?
No.
Can you explain what this is exactly?
That's his feeding tube, and he didn't have that before they took him. So he has a hole in his stomach that is connected to that tube, and it feeds him 24 hours a day.
This feeding bag that he's on right now, it's a 24-hour feed. This is the end result of what happened after the county took him. When the county took him, they had no way of feeding him, so they went back to the nose tube. And every time he would pull that out, or doctors would pull that out, when it gets put back in, they have to have X-rays. So he had numerous X-rays. He maxed out on his radiation. So what they did was they put a tube into a vein into his head, and for 5 days he lived off from a clear fluid that looked like water that just went in there and gave him his nutrition that way. And obviously that wasn't something that they could continue with, so that's when they started with the G-tube. They put a G-tube in, they put it in wrong, it leaked on both sides, so they were putting the chemicals and the food into cavities other than the stomach, which are still floating around in there. So then they had to put him back under, redo the G-tube again, and then due to all the pain and everything else, he's been on morphine, he's been on Oxycontin, he's been on multiple drugs for the pain relief, besides the fact that they continue to give him X-rays, because they say that the good outweighs the bad on the X-rays. So he was maxed out probably 2 weeks ago on X-rays, and they continue to give him X-rays. And this is all stuff, and this part of it is necessary, but it's only necessary because the county took the baby away from the only food source that baby had.
Well, I used to, before this happened, I used to believe that America was the greatest country on earth because of our freedoms and our liberty and equality. And through this whole thing, since the day Rico was born, all of those things have been tested and failed in this country. What I used to think was the land of the free, home of the brave, is now a shattered illusion. It will never be the same for me. And to see your daughter suffer in the way that she did when they took this child out of her arms, it was just a horrific event, and I will never forget it. And I don't know what it will take to restore my trust in this country. As Americans, we need you to rally and come forward and say, this cannot be happening in homes across America. And we know that it has been. And particularly in Mower County, Child Protective Services overreach their bounds, and they're supported by the local sheriff, and it's got to stop.
What we need here is we need our state representatives and our people at government levels to come in and see what's happened here, see what's going on here. We can't do this by ourselves. I may lose my business over this. I've had to refinance my house over this. And the money issue is not, that's not what's at issue here. What's hanging in the balance is this little baby's life. And they may have already killed this baby. This little child is in a very fragile state right now. We need help here. I'm asking that anybody that can lend a hand here and somehow bring enough light onto this situation. They fought us to have this trial to be open. They didn't want it to be open. It's my daughter's information that's out there. In this particular case here, there is absolutely no law that has been broken. And we have been doing this now for almost 3 months. We still don't even know what we've been charged with. What we're left with is, on April 1st and April 2nd is, we have to take the same information from the same people to the same judge and expect that we're going to get a different conclusion. I don't believe that's going to happen. So then I've got to go into appeals. And if I go into appeals, that's more money. Eventually I'm going to dry up for money here, and we aren't going to be able to move this forward. And again, this is a baby's life that is still, he's still alive right now. We might not say that in 6 months. I don't know. I don't know how long this child can be continued to be battered by this county and taken away from his family.
That being said, you mentioned that there's no crime committed, and I agree that you guys have committed no crime here. Would you say that there has been crimes committed against you?
Well, obviously, when you walk into someone's house and take their grandchild or their child, in Lindsay's case, right away from the only food source that baby has, and then cause bodily damage to that baby to the point now he has to be hooked up to all of this stuff to stay alive. He has spent his entire life laying on his back and staring at a fluorescent light until he finally got home last Friday, and now he is finally safe. But he's still hooked up to all their machinery, and he has to be hooked up to it now because of the damage that they caused to this baby.
Well, I think there should be an investigation, and people need to know what's going on in this county. It's not fair. You can't just take a baby away from its mother when you have no proof of any endangerment.